Good morning, everyone. I am from Abhiman Sir's Math Science class. My name is Wethum Weerasekara. Today, we will be discussing the first lesson in our grade 6 English medium science book, Wonders of the Living World. Now, what are the wonders of the living world, you ask? Well, it consists of the environment. Now, what is the environment? The environment is the surrounding, including us. The environment consists of land, water bodies, plants, houses, animals, etc. We can divide the environment into two main groups, living things and non-living things. In this lesson, we will be talking about living things. Now, what are living things? Living things are organisms which have a growth, and they are called living things or living organisms. We can divide them into three main groups. Microorganisms, plants, and animals. First, we will be talking about microorganisms. Now, what are microorganisms? They are the organisms that cannot be seen to the naked eye. Now, what is the naked eye? The naked eye is our own eye without using anything by far, such as telescopes and such things like binoculars. Now, examples for microorganisms can be amoebas, paramecium, albinas, chlamydomonas, and certain types of bacteria. Now, there is certain type of amoeba that can be found in freshwater lakes, streams, or rivers, known as the brain-eating amoeba. And what is this brain-eating amoeba? Well, it is the amoeba that can literally, as the name suggests, eat your brain. That's why it is so important to cover your nose when you jump into fresh water. Well, this is how it works. If you don't cover your nose, the amoeba will just swim into your nose and into the brain. And as the name suggests, it'll eat your brain. Now, moving on. Now, how can we see these microorganisms? Well, the instrument used to observe microorganisms is known as the compound light microscope. As you can see here, this is a compound light microscope. Now, moving on, we shall talk about plants. Now, we can divide plants into three main groups, such as based on morphological features. Now, what is these morphological features, you ask? Well, it is the roots, stems, flowers, fruit, leaves, and branches. The second one on this list is based on nature. Now, what is based on nature? Well, it is the type of plant, like jack trees. Yeah, you get the idea. So, plants, shrubs, trees, and creepers. And the final one is based on living environment, also known as habitat. Now, what is this habitat, you ask? Well, it is the place where animals or living organisms live, like terrestrial, aquatic, mangrove, or coastal. And that is it for plants. on to our last one, but not last one, animals. And when you take animals, you can the diversity of animals. Now, what is the diversity among these animals? Well, you can divide them into 5 groups. Let's find out what they are. First one is just wait a moment. Is once again habitat. Now the habitats for animals are terrestrial, aquatic, and the air. The second one is based on external features. Now, what is these external features, you ask? Well, the external features are like the plant morphological features. That means the features that can be seen from the outside. Like, for instance, us have our shapes, size, colors, and, appendages. That goes for animals too. So, it is size, appendages, and color. Now, also, we can divide them as based on the type of movement. Now, what is the movement, you ask? Well, movement is moving from one place to another place. Also, it is known as locomotion. It can be walking, running, jumping, flying, swimming, and creeping. Now, this is the fourth one is based on the type of food. Now, what is the type of food, you ask? Well, it is a type of food they eat. We can divide them into 3 main groups with the type of foods they eat as carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. Now, what are carnivores, you ask? Well, carnivores are the animals that only eat meat, like snakes, sharks, sharks, polar bears, lions. Well, you get the idea. So, herbivores are the animals that depend on plants and only like giraffes, zebras, like that. So omnivores are the types of animals that eat both plants and animals, like wild boars, squirrels, birds. Well, you get it. Moving on to our last one, big on eating, based on feeding mechanism. Now, what is the feeding mechanism, you ask? Well, the feeding mechanism is how the animals feed on their food, like people chewing and swallowing. That is one of this group, chewing while swallowing. Sucking is also one. And swallowing without chewing. That is it for diversity among animals. But this is it. But animals and the environment needs animals and plants to make it even more beautiful than it is right now. Right now, a great number of animals are under the threat of extinction. As for the well, there are some examples for the hammerhead shark, which is critically endangered, and for their meat, fins, and well, for movies. Did you know that people kill 200 sharks for just one movie? And also, people kill sharks for their meat, and they kill 1 million sharks a year. Well, enough dilly-dallying, and let's move on to the next part. Characteristics of organisms. Now, what are these characteristics of organisms, you ask? Well, there are 5 main characteristics among these organisms, or among us, which is the first one, growth. Number 1, which will be which we be discussing now. Now, what is growth? Growth is the increasing of size of an organism, like a germinative seed. Here we have this normal. Here we have this normal seed, right? Now, as the seed is becoming a plant, like a coconut, like a fruit seed becoming a fruit tree. Like this. A puppy becoming a full-grown dog. As you can see here, this cute, adorable puppy. This puppy will become a fully grown adult dog. Now, moving on to our second one, which is nutrition. Now, what is nutrition? Nutrition is the satisfying of food requirements for an organism. There are two types of nutrition methods. The first one is autotrophic. Second one is heterotrophic. Now, we will be discussing about these two in this lesson. Now, we will be discussing autotrophic. Now, what is autotrophic? Autotrophic is the organisms which produce food for themselves. For that, they use a special process called photosynthesis. How do this photosynthesis work? Well, this is how. They use carbon dioxide from the air, sunlight, chlorophyll, which is a substance that can be found among green plants, soil and water. As you can see here, this is the ground. Here is the sun. So, now there are water particles in the ground, and this is the soil. Now these roots absorb the soil and water and push it up the trunk of the tree. And that water and soil goes up into the branches. And as it takes in carbon dioxide, from the air and sunlight, And when the process is done, it makes fruit or vegetables. And as a product, it releases oxygen into the air. Now this process is called photosynthesis. Not only plants can do photosynthesis, but some bacteria and planktonas have been known to do photosynthesis. Now we are moving on to the second one, heterotrophic. Now what is heterotrophic? Heterotrophic are the organisms that cannot produce food for themselves. Examples: deer, cows, lions, tigers, and bears. Or humans, they can depend on plants directly or indirectly. If we can take examples for directly, like, well, cows, deers, sheep, elk, gazelles, as for indirectly, we can take anacondas, lions, tigers, and well, all carnivores such as, you get the idea, eagles. Now, we are moving on to our third one. Which is movement. Now, what is movement? Movement is moving from one place to another place. Also, it is known as locomotion. There are special appendages for locomotion, such as, well, fish have fins. Dogs have legs. Birds wings, and as for snakes, they have scales. Now, some animals can't locomote, but they do show movements, such as sea anemones. They are a type of jellyfish which have evolved to grow on the sea floor, and they are extremely dangerous because they are poisonous. But coral fish do not show any poisoning to this poison. Some plants too. Oh wait, another one, which is coral polyps. They're also known as plankton, which are the eggs of some coral. But some plants also show sleeping movement. Such, for example, the mimosa plant. When touched, the mimosa plant, the leaves of the plant shows a sleeping movement. Albicea, Sesbania, and tamarind leaves show sleeping movements in the evening. This is a plant bending towards the sunlight. Now, the fourth one is respiration. Now, what is respiration? When you try to answer that question, the first thing that might come into your mind is inhaling and exhaling. Well, my friends, no. Respiration is the process that produces energy. This is how it works. As you can see, and that oxygen goes down our body to the stomach where there is stored food. And when they mix together, it produces energy. And as a subproduct, we release carbon dioxide into the air. And this process is known as respiration. In the process of respiration, oxygen is taken in and carbon dioxide is released. Oxygen needed to taken in by inhaling, and while the produced carbon dioxide is released by exhaling. Inhale, and this is exhale. The chest moves up and down, because the process of inhaling and exhaling and these movements are known as respiratory movements. Plants also breathe, but they do not show any respiratory movements. There is an experiment to find out that whether carbon dioxide is contained in the air. We shall talk about that later in another video. As for now, we'll be moving on to the fifth one, which is reproduction. Now, what is reproduction, you ask? Reproduction is a matured living being, a living organism, reproducing new members of the same species is known as reproduction. Examples: the germination of seeds. We talked about that one in growth. A dog giving birth to a puppy and a mother giving birth to a baby. Reproduction is essential for the existence of living organisms. From that we conclude the 5 main characteristics of organisms. Now, the other one we are moving on to is differences between plants and animals. Now, what are the differences of animals, plants and animals? Plants grow fixed to the ground, but do not show locomotion, but they do show movements. Animals show locomotion and movement. Plants produce their own food and they are known as autotrophic. Animals, on the other hand, do not produce their own food and depend on other animals or plants directly or indirectly. Chlorophyll is present in green plants. Chlorophyll is absent with the cells of animals. Growth is visible in plants. Growth is visible throughout their whole lifetime. But in animals, they only grow for a short period of time and stop. And moving on to our last lesson for this unit, dichotomous keys. Categorization of organisms using the presence of or absence of characteristic features are known as dichotomous keys. It is more suitable to use external features that can be easily observed, such as, well, we can take examples for parrot, earthworm, dog, centipede, deer, and crow. With 4 legs, you can divide them into groups such as with 4 legs and without 4 legs. With 4 legs, you can take dogs and deer. Without 4 legs, parrot, earthworm, centipede, and crow. Now, as for with 4 legs, you can divide them into another 2 groups, which is with antlers and without antlers. Dog, without antlers, dog. With antlers, deer. As for the without 4 legs group, you can divide them into 2 more groups. They are with wings and without wings. With wings, parrots and crows. Without wings, centipede and the earthworm. Now, with wings, you can divide them into another 2 groups, such as with curved beak or without curved beak. With curved beak, parrot. Without curved beak, crow. As for without wings, you can divide that group into 2 more groups, such as with legs and without legs. Centipede with legs, centipede without Until next time, it is me, Wethum, zooming